Senator Allen has item 16, SB 766.
Yes. So many fun things. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And we're certainly going to be taking all the amendments, and I just want to thank your excellent staff for its work on the bill. So this bill is about trying to add consumer protections for car purchasers and car leasers by codifying the, because there's some similar parallels, though we're closer to being done on this one. But we're basically seeking to codify the Federal Trade Commission's CARS rule and establish a cooling off period for used cars. So we've been working extensively with the opposition. We just had a great chat with them while we were waiting to present on a plethora of amendments to this bill that are now in print. So you can see all the amendments in the analysis. I'm happy to go through them. We've just agreed to some additional amendments to narrow some of the bill's record retention requirements while still ensuring that dealers keep sufficient records to demonstrate compliance. Just to give you some background on the bill, late last year, the Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit overturned the CARS rule, but only on administrative grounds. We had many Californians filing comments in favor of the FTC's rule that the bill codifies, including former auto sales personnel and consumers who personally experienced auto scams. Even our Attorney General filed some comments. So this is ultimately about really trying to address some of those basic consumer complaints. These are cases where dealers are not being fully transparent. People go in thinking they're going to buy a $30,000 car because that's what's being advertised, and then they walk out having spent $38,000, being told that this was an required add-on, and et cetera. So we're looking to make sure that folks, the folks selling the cars are not misrepresenting the price of the car. We require transparency on the full total price and the total payments. If, for example, there is an add-on onto the car that cannot be removed, that's part of the price. That's not an optional thing, right? If it can't be removed, so that should be included in the advertised price. And you can, of course, mention that you get this additional add-on, but that you shouldn't be pretending as though that's optional. We want dealers to be transparent about add-on services or features that are optional and prohibit them from charging for add-ons that will not benefit the consumer. There have been some, not frequent, but some rare cases of, someone selling a purchaser of an electric car oil changes, certain types of servicing that is not applicable to an electric car, so stuff like that, and again, the vast majority of car dealers don't do that kind of thing, but we don't want that to be happening. We also want to provide some additional protections for members of the military and veterans by prohibiting dealers from misrepresenting affiliation with the U.S. government, state government, the Department of Defense. There have been some cases in that category as well. So that's what the bill is ultimately about, and I just want to say how much I appreciate the work I've been doing with Rosemary from Consumers for Auto Reliability and Safety, and we also have Chuck Marshall here today, who's an experienced attorney representing consumers who've been misled and defrauded in many cases, and they're here to speak in support of the bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you and good afternoon. My name is Chuck Marshall. I'm here to testify as a proud supporter of SB 766 and on behalf of the National Association of Consumer Advocates as well. I've been a consumer protection attorney for 27 years, and for the past 12, my practice in Walnut Creek is focused solely on protecting constituents from all over the state from bad used car deals. I'm here to express strong support for SB 766. The problem it addresses isn't theoretical. It's something I see every day. When someone buys a car that breaks down within days, it's not just inconvenient, it's devastating. This bill can stop that before it starts. Let me give you an example. My client, Alejandro Bolanos, bought a Chevy Suburban from a franchise dealer in Concord. They told him it passed Chevrolet's Certified Pre-Owned program, which is a 172-point inspection checklist to make sure it's reliable and it's safe. He bought it for his growing family. His wife was pregnant at the time. Within days, the car began to fail. The transmission leaked, the fuel system failed, faulty suspension, and the third row middle seat belt was entirely missing. This is where he's going to put his new child. This wasn't bad luck. This was a vehicle that never should have been certified, never should have been sold. It never should have been driven by a family with a newborn on the way. Under SB 766, he'd have a new right to return that car and get a refund minus a reasonable restocking fee. And that's not an isolated case. I get over 100 calls a month, and dozens of those are from people whose cars break down a day or two after purchase. They find that unwanted add-ins have been slid into the deal at the last minute, and they realize financing terms changed when they weren't looking. Those people would be protected by this bill. Now, the opponents say this is going to increase litigation. I'm in this field, it's going to reduce it. If dealers follow this law, most of these problems will never happen. Consumers like Mr. Bolanos He won't need a lawyer like me. I will never get those calls because he's going to have a tool to fix the problem before it spirals out of control. And this bill actually puts a little bit more power where it belongs, which is back into the hands of the buyers. And that's why SB 766 matters. From where I sit, case after case, trying to clean up the damage, consumers need more than after-the-fact help from someone like me. They need the power to enforce these rights before the harm goes too deep. And that's why I urge you to vote aye on SB 766.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Rosemary Shahan, President of Consumers for Auto Reliability and Safety, and we applaud Senator Allen for his leadership in championing this measure. And we'd also like to thank counsel for the committee for the excellent analysis. And as stated in the analysis, SB 766 will help address the number one source of consumer complaints to state and local consumer protection agencies, car buying. It's almost like a cliche. According to the Federal Trade Commission, the CARS rule was projected to save American car buyers about $3.4 billion a year and another 72 million hours annually that would otherwise be spent haggling over and shopping for cars. Thousands of Californians, including our Attorney General, commented in support of the rule, and Attorney General Bonta led 19 state attorneys general in backing the CARS rule on grounds that it's needed to address continuing ongoing rampant fraud in car buying. And SB 766 would go beyond the CARS rule and also include a 3-business-day return option. And that is so important for used car buyers because, you know, I'm so old, I remember when you used to be like able to lift the hood and kick the tires and know what's going on with the car. Those days are long gone. Today's cars are so complicated. It really takes having a skilled auto tech with the right equipment, the diagnostic equipment to run the error codes and find out what's happening with the car. And like odometer fraud is still very rampant. It's really hard to tell if the odometer's been rolled back, but if you get a tech to look at it, he or she can tell you right away. And a number of car dealers already offer cooling off periods. And from what I've heard, people are pretty happy having that option, and so we would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in support of SB 766?
Shalmunda Shan for the California Low Income Consumer Coalition in strong support.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Danny Kando Kaiser on behalf of the National Consumer Law Center in strong support, and also by proxy the Consumer Attorneys of California in support.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Karen Stout on behalf of Unidos US in strong support.
Thank you.
Griselda Chavez with the Mesa Verde Group on behalf of the Consumer Federation of California, proud to be a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to SB 766?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Anthony Sampson here on behalf of the California New Car Dealers Association. We are in an oppose unless amended on the bill. Let me just start by thanking the chair and staff as well, Sharon in particular. I think that the way this process has been going for the past several weeks is the way these processes need to go. And you gave us the ability and sort of the space that we needed to be able to make some progress, which we have. I think it's fair to be up here to say that the bill that you are looking at in front of you is probably the most significant overhaul of the vehicle sales and lease transaction process that we have seen in decades, if not ever. So we are not at a point right now where we are pushing back or opposing any of the consumer protections in this bill, but rather we are looking at workability and to make sure that this is something that we can implement in a way that works for both dealers as well as consumers. So in terms of the protections themselves, and I know they were talked about, the right to return, I want to talk about how significant that is. Today, consumers have a 2-day option to purchase the right to return their vehicle, and they have to pay for that. So what we are doing is we are making that free, and then we are adding a day. And while I appreciate that the sponsors have talked about how entities are doing this already, keep in mind that CNCDA represents plenty of small dealers. This is not an easy thing to do, and we have some work to do on that issue. Price transparency. This was something that the senator raised at the initial hearing. We think that what we've agreed to on price transparency is good for everybody, good for dealers, good for consumers, to ensure that the price that they see online is matching the price that they come and see in the dealership. Add-ons, we're making sure that consumers aren't confused about add-ons and whether or not they're optional. So there are a whole lot of strong consumer protections. In terms of the remaining issues, like I said, we are not focused on striking consumer protections at this point. We're looking at making them more workable. There are things like the effective date. This is going to take a long time, not only to implement, but to educate dealers on these new provisions, new forms, new advertising requirements. This is not something they're going to be able to do overnight, so the effective date is very important. The application to commercial vehicle transactions, that's something that we were just talking about right outside of this room. I think that there's a way to thread the needle on that issue. There are a couple of specified prohibitions that are very problematic. And I think that those need clarifying. And then, like I said, right to return. Again, I think we'll get there. We appreciate all the hard work and look forward to continuing to work together.
Thank you.
I also should say I have a smarter bald Anthony next to me, Anthony Bento, with the California New Car Dealers Association, who's here to answer any technical questions that may come up.
Great. Thank you. Is there anyone else here in opposition to SB 766?
Hello, Neil Clark on behalf of Insurance Auto Auctions. We have an opposed unless amended position, but we've also had a lot of great conversations with the authors, staff, and sponsors, and we think that we will get to a place of resolution very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Taylor Triffo on behalf of CarMax Auto Superstores. I'll echo the comments of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, Dan Cha on behalf of Carvana, similar to the prior witness, grateful for the conversations we're having with the author's office. We think we'll be able to get there very shortly as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ken Stanhope with the California New Car Dealers, but also here on behalf of the Orange County New Car Dealers Association, San Diego New Car Dealers, and the Silicon Valley New Car Dealers. Just echoing the comments of Mr. Sampson, hopefully we can get these final provisions taken care of. We can all be neutral. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Schultz with the California Bankers. Banks and other lenders purchase auto loans. Getting this right is important, and especially the delayed implementation is important to get all the forms and other things in order. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eileen Ricker with the California Credit League, echoing kind of what Mr. Schultz said, and we're in respectful opposition.
Thank you. All right, we'll bring it back to committee. Any questions, comments, or motions? Assemblymember Pacheco?
Yeah.
I want to thank Senator. I want to thank you for bringing this bill forward. I know you and I have had conversations about this bill, and you were discussing with me what the amendments that you were going to take. And so I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate that there has been amendments, and this is a different bill than originally it was, and it looks like you're going to get to an even better place. So I will be supporting your bill today, and I look forward to the outcome. And it looks like eventually you might get everybody to neutral. So good job.
Thank you. Assemblymember Pappen?
I would just concur with Assemblymember Pacheco. I think the 3 days is getting in the realm of what can work for folks. Just got to figure out if that's 3 business days, 3 regular days, restocking fees, all those kinds of things that make it perhaps more workable. If somebody just wants to go for 3 days and drive a fancy car and puts a lot of miles on it, that's tough on industry. So I think, like Assemblymember Pacheco said, I think you'll get there. So I appreciate your openness to it.
Yeah.
Assemblymember Zabur?
So I want to thank the author and also the opposition as well. I mean, I think, one of the most scary things out there is buying a car. And I think buying a used car is scarier than buying a new car. And so understand how important this is in protecting consumers, and also appreciate that the opposition is actually not pushing back on the key consumer protections in this bill. I guess the thing I would sort of say is I've taken a quick look at some of the issues, and I think that delaying the effective date is a reasonable thing to do. And so I hope you'll do that, because I think you've got a lot of, I mean, if you think about this goes into effect signed sometime in September. It's a few months before this would all have to be in place. So I would encourage you to push the effective date off. I think the concerns that were raised related to commercial transactions are reasonable. I mean, why would you need all these kinds of disclosures for fleet vehicle purchases and that kind of thing? And then I think the last thing I would say is I've taken a look at what the opposition has asked for in terms of some of the prohibitions, and I'm hoping you'll continue working with them on that. I think there are answers to those that do not hurt the consumer, but make it, in fact, it would be better for the consumer if it was sort of fleshed out a little bit. And so for example, the one to 1784C, where they're concerned about whether or not there could be a misrepresentation about a purchase or lease. I understand, and I bought cars before where actually the dealer has basically said, if you're leasing it, there's this set of payments, and if you're purchasing it, it's this set of payments. I just sort of think that it's reasonable to sort of focus on that issue, because that could be presented as part of the transaction, and figure out how you deal with that to make sure that the consumer actually knows what they're doing. But I think that some of these minor issues are ones that I'm hoping you'll continue dealing with. But anyway, on the whole, I think it's a great bill. I think it's really important. And I just want to thank you for bringing it. I do think it's really significant, a significant bill. And I actually want to thank the opposition for actually working with the author on, especially on embracing the consumer protections that are in the bill. So with that, I'll be supporting it today.
Assembly Member Stephanie.
Thank you. Just want to align my comments with those of the other Assembly members that have spoken today. Thank you for this important work for consumer protection. I want to thank the opposition too, because it seems you're working diligently with the author to make certain that we get this moving to a place where we are protecting consumers. And I look forward to see how those comments continue. I mean, the work continues. And again, I'll be supporting the bill today.
Thank you.
Assembly Member Bauer-Cahan.
Well, I also want to applaud both the author and the opposition for working together and for seeing such incredible movement, while at the same time a bill that continues to be a huge step forward for consumers. I think that it's really annoying to all of us when we think we're getting one price and we show up and it's a different price. And I think that change in and of itself will be magnificent for consumers. And so I appreciate the bill, although I know it does a lot of other things as well, as highlighted by my constituent here. But I do, I know we've had conversations about, there's room, I think, to even continue to refine the bill. It's coming to privacy and consumer protection next. And I think we can really get this bill to a place where everyone will feel good about supporting it. And so I look forward to continuing those conversations and supporting it today.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair.
Well, I'll join the chorus. I think it's great that we have an industry group and listening to resolve the issues not only of consumers, but of the business group, and with the author to create legislation and new laws that haven't been addressed in decades. I think that's highly commendable. As with all new laws or proposed laws, the unintended consequences, interesting that people could potentially buy a car and 3 days later return it like a rental car. So those are some unintended aspects of the period of time to return the car in. But I just hope it's in the good faith that's going on. I think that's fantastic to protect our consumers, but also I feel strongly about protecting those entities that are in the business of selling cars and used cars in this industry. And oftentimes it is fraught with problem cars. That's why they're being sold used, I guess. But let's make sure that we can create a successful market for both. So I look forward to seeing a successful bill. Thank you.
And I do want to clarify that there's a cap on the mileage, so you can't just go off on a long trip to
on a road trip.
Right now we have it at 400 miles. I mean, we can keep talking about that.
Well, that's important, but you could rent it for. I mean, you could buy it for a weekend and then decide 3 days later that after you've taken your little.
That's the point. You can't just go off on a road trip to Phoenix. I mean, because we've got a cap on the mileage.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
I want to thank you as well, Senator. I want to thank everyone. This is, as our privacy chair indicated, this is a huge consumer protection bill. And I'm very grateful to the author and his staff and to the privacy or the consumer protection advocates for fighting so hard for this. And I want to thank the opposition for, all too often in this building, we have, a big idea and the opposition is just no, 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 and then it just becomes a big battle and you have to pick a side. And here, I don't think we have to pick a side. We're all picking the side of the consumer. And we're doing it in a way that works for the dealerships. There's nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of small kind of mom and pop dealerships, immigrant owned, selling to immigrant community. And I think that they all, deserve the right to be able to operate in a way that makes sense. And those consumers deserve the right to be protected as well. And I think that I really want to commend you for getting this bill to the place where I think we all kind of seem very comfortable with the direction it's heading. Our able privacy chair is going to kind of take it on next to deal with some of the issues on implementation. But I'm confident we can get there. And I want to thank Sharon, our staff here in Judiciary for convening the two sides. And I think that that's, this is how legislation should work when you have a bill of this magnitude of importance and you have opposition that, but oftentimes we hear opposition say, well, I agree with the intent of what you're trying to do, but, and then it stops there. But here, I think we're actually getting a sense opposition actually does agree with the intention and is trying to find a way to get there. And I think that is a great credit to the author, to the opposition, and everyone engaged and involved in this. And so I look forward to this, getting to the assembly floor in a place where I think everyone will feel very comfortable supporting it. And I think it's going to be a big deal when this ultimately gets signed into law. And I truly believe that it will. Based upon the way that our author here, Senator Allen, is approaching it, and everyone is coming to the table in such an amiable way to find that path forward together. Do we have a motion? We have a motion in a second. Would you like to close?
I certainly try my best to be amiable, and I do want to thank the opposition. This was not as an easy conversation at the first committee when we started, but I mean, in the end of the day, I really appreciate your recognizing our core goals here, which is just about increasing transparency, reducing the likelihood of consumers being misled, making the whole car buying experience a better one for people. And I just appreciate everyone recognizing what we're trying to do here and how close we're getting. So with that, I really ask for your support in continuing this and getting this landed. I ask for an aye vote.
And I would like to be added as a co-author, if that's okay with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We can go ahead with the roll call vote. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Motions do pass to Privacy and Consumer Protection Committee. Colra?
Aye.
Colra, aye. Dixon? Bauer-Cahan? Bryan? Connolly? Garabedian? Macedo? Pacheco? Aye. Pacheco, aye. Pappen? Sanchez? Stephanie? Aye. Stephanie, aye. Zabur? Aye. Zabur, aye.
Thank you so much, members.
We'll place it on call. Thank you.